Good evening, everybody. Yes, it's Desmondo coming to you from the Shed of War. Yes, it's a post-game report for you all. Yes, I played Chain of Command with Per on, I think it was Thursday night. And we had a humdinger of a Chain of Command game. Set in 1944 in Holland. It put the Canadians with support versus a light German defense. This was picked straight off the pint-sized campaign that you all know from Normandy, Operation Martlet. And I just tweaked the pint-sized campaign. Scenario number 2, forces are exactly the same. But what I did was I changed the terrain somewhat. So you can see on this side where there was open ground in scenario 2, there's still open ground, but you can get bogged down if you've got tanks. Because this is Holland and lower ground will be potentially waterlogged. The road is now higher up. It's now raised, as are the 2 areas where the farms are, as you would see in Holland. The orchards on this side were replaced with a light wood, so no real effect on the terrain in the game as far as we were concerned. And yes, there are orchards, and apologies to anyone in Holland who tells me that they don't have apple orchards in Holland, but for this game they have. So the terrain was changed a little bit, but the most important impact of that terrain was really on the fact that now you had these potential pieces of dead ground running along the edges of the high ground. And actually Per saw that straight away and used it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially, yes, it is the scenario 2 from Operation Martlet, and everything else was played exactly as it would normally be. And I had a reasonable patrol phase, Per had a reasonable patrol phase, and we got going. My supports, I had 7 points. I used 1 point for an adjutant and all my other 6 points for a Pack 40, which you notice is on fire. Because I was worried about Per just piling on with his 12 points and potentially having a lot of armour and wiping me out. Because I only have Panzerfaust 30s, which only have a range of 9 inches, which means basically I'd have to really get close up and personal against a piece of armour to stop it. So this was probably the only thing that I had that could do any damage. Remember, there are no Panzerschrecks yet in this, although thinking about it, maybe in autumn 1944 I could have given the Germans one, but anyway, I'll think about that later. Cut long story short, Per had a blinder. Brilliant tactics, great dice. When he did get messed up and he made a mistake, which was down here coming across the field, even though he had smoke, I managed to open up with my MGs and hit him. I did 10 hits. He rolled 10 saves. I was literally couldn't believe it. I was about to shake his hand and say thanks, because the writing was already on the wall, far as I could see. It then got worse when my Pack 40 came on, fired, missed the damn Sherman. Didn't just miss it, I think it hit the building over there rather than the Sherman. He promptly fired back. He had double phase, 2 rounds of HE. Goodbye, Pack 40. Rolled some extraordinary dice, and then I promptly do what I normally do. I kill my own men. So it was looking pretty bleak, and if it had been actually a pint-sized campaign game, I probably would have thrown in the towel. But I didn't, because I just wanted to just give it another turn, see if I could do anything. And Per made a mistake. He did have a section here, and they had worked their way all the way up, as you can see this other one is, to here, stormed across the hedge and attacked and just wiped out a LMG team, which is in the garden. They were left in the middle of the road with a senior leader. I deployed my last section with 2 MG 42s and opened up. I killed the senior leader and inflicted a load of shock. Per tried to get them out of there, got them down onto the other side of this hedge. I then, my phase, moved my guys round and only had 1 dice on each one, but fired anyway. So 1 dice, so I only had I fired at half effect, that's what I meant, sorry. And I killed the junior leader, killed the brain gun team. What was left of the rifle team then broke, and as you can see, there's literally 2 men left out of the section. Per rolled a terrible set of dice for his force morale, prompting it to drop to 2. And at that point, he shook my hand and said, that's it, and he was putting back. Which is quite extraordinary, really, because he still had 3 totally intact sections. He had his armour, he had his mortars, he had everything. But his force morale just collapsed. He'd lost his senior guy, he'd lost his junior guy, and the men around him had been slaughtered. And as with all point-sized campaigns, those of us who know it, you try to lead with your supports rather than with your main. Per didn't, he led it with the main. So this was a point-sized campaign. He'd be regretting some of the decisions right now. But we don't play Chain of Command a huge amount, not regularly. And if I do play, what happens is you play against different people. So Per was probably a little bit rusty, but I've got to say he had a blinder until that point. And it's just amazing to see how Chain of Command can flip a result suddenly like that. But there you go. I hope you've enjoyed looking at this game. As I say, it's just a normal point-sized campaign, Operation Martlet. And all I've done is just jigged with the terrain slightly, moved it into another country, and changed the terrain just a little bit. Next time I'm going to play this, I think I'm going to change this to Italy. So these will be olive groves and Italian farms. And a lot more, obviously not any wet areas, but dry out areas, whatever. And see how the British or the Americans in facing this in northern Italy would get on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And keep looking through all the point-sized campaigns. There's loads and loads of scenarios in there, or even the campaign themselves. You can just tweak, you can change, and you get a lot more out of them. Not just playing Normandy and the Ardennes. So take care, everybody. Have a lovely weekend. What's left of it. Bye bye.